We have in studio a psychotherapist, Nyambura Gadhumbi, who's going to be having this conversation with us. Karibu sana.
Thank you for having me.
I am a lover of yellow, they say, because I'm a cow or whatever, but whatever it is, you look gorgeous, and I'm here for it all.
I love color as well.
Yeah. And you came
color.
representing.
I came representing.
Karibu sana full circle.
Thank you, Mikali.
Maybe we can start with proper introductions of what it is that you do, where you work, you know, the business, before we get to the topic today.
Right, thank you. Thank you so much. So my name is Nyambura Gadhumbi, and I run a consultancy called Renewed Minds.
Okay.
I'm very passionate about mental health. That's my sole purpose in life. Okay, apart from glorifying God, then now the secondary is educating on effect of mental health, how people can be able to live a mentally healthful life. There's a word like healthful life. So qualifications, undergrad in counseling psychology, currently doing my master's in marriage and family therapy, because I think the family is an integral unit of society.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And we're happy you are all of that, because we need to understand and even see the need for us to be able to focus on that. We started businesses when we lost our jobs last year, this year. We started businesses online. We transformed our homes into daycares, whatever it took for us to pick up ourselves when it comes to finances, when it comes to looking for other jobs, when it comes to getting that divorce, you know, realizing that this is not working, wasn't working in the first place. We took bold steps last year and this year. But when it comes to the mental states, the well-being of that, and being able to understand where we came from, what we had to do, and now recovering and picking up the pieces.
Right.
Post-pandemic.
First of all, COVID-19 was a trauma.
It was.
To the entire world.
Yeah.
And we, so first the medical society, and then guess other professional health workers like psychologists like myself, social workers, and other health workers. We are only now starting to see the effect of COVID-19 on mental health. So how I want to address it, I normally like to do it in 4 ways. So let's look at the societal aspect, and then we look at the cognitive aspect, then we look at the emotional, and then the behavior, because then you'll be able to understand it.
Great.
Society. Before 2020 February, things were certain weekly.
Yeah. We were geared up to just take over the world. It's the new year. You know how, vamped we are?
Yeah,
to just...
like this is my year. I'm really excited about this.
Yes.
And then March hits, and April, and specifically for Kenya, guys stay home. So the societal, and by this I mean family interaction, friends interaction, education system, and just other, maybe you'd call them A or B, like clubs, gyms, all that is taken away from us.
Yes.
And society is so important for us because it helps in releasing emotional tension. So that has been taken away from you.
Yeah.
And then underlying it, we don't know what this thing is. We don't know
how long.
And for how long. So there's emotional tension, then there's uncertainty that has been built up, and then there's the economic impact on that. Jobs are scarce, salaries are being slashed into half. That's even more uncertainty. And so what all this does to the cognitive mind, it kind of shrouds your rationale or reasoning. So very quickly, the brain has different aspects, left, right hemisphere. But what we use for what we call executive brain function is the prefrontal cortex. Okay. And what we use for emotional aspect is called the limbic system. So you have your amygdala, hippocampus. I don't want to get... I don't...
It's okay. Whatever she said. Okay.
I'm saying this so that we understand.
No problem.
So we had, and I think somehow it's still continuing, the limbic system overworked. And what happens in the brain is that when you have heightened tension, anxiety, sadness, anger, fear, depression, all that, it activates the limbic system. It flips over your prefrontal cortex. Your prefrontal cortex is what you use to reason. Okay. Delayed gratification, self-control.
Yes.
But you know, there's so much anxiety. There's so much
We're
emotional.
good, Nyambura.
There's so much emotional upheaval.
Yes.
What are you telling the brain to control? How am I controlling myself? I don't know where my next meal is coming from.
Yeah.
I'm in this marriage that is causing me so much either abuse, anxiety. My children, I have either a Form 1 or a Form 4. They need school fees. My job has gone away. So what are you telling me to control? Like, what's happening? And that is the effect of COVID-19.
Okay.
So it's a lot.
Yes, it is.
It's a lot. And so what that happens, so we've described the society and the effect of the society on the cognitive. We've now described the effect of cognitive on the emotional.
Yes.
So what's going to happen is, because I'm not going to drink out, I have to drink in the house. And values that I had before are thrown out of the house. And remember, we are 4 or 5 in that household,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
We are all going through the same thing.
Yes.
Is it then a wonder that in 2020 end, there was increase in teen pregnancy?
No.
There was increase in, I think, some rampant sexual behavior. This is the behavior that has affected COVID-19.
So we had to do something
Yeah.
without using the part of our brain that gives us the power to control, to tell us, no, wacha si lazima. So now we're just doing it all. So how then do we go back to that? Because it's become the norm.
It's become
This is
the
the
norm.
new normal now.
And even before we go that, let's even
Yes.
look at a trauma within a trauma
Okay.
that I like to call. So you have COVID-19 is the trauma.
Yes.
And then we have family members who got sick. And then they passed away. And then we were left with the hospital bills. And we were left with no job to pay the hospital bill. So now you have a family that has lost income. They've lost the primary caregiver or the supporting caregiver. They've lost their likelihood of life, and they are going through the societal, cognitive, emotional aspect of COVID-19.
I don't think it's trauma within a trauma. It's trauma within a trauma and another trauma and another trauma. It's just a lot.
Yeah, it's a meta-trauma. It's
Yes.
like layers of
Yes.
trauma. Yeah, that's the effect.
Then it's really bad.
It is.
It is really bad, because it might look like a them problem, but then again, as long as we're in the same society, it is the same society that will be like, tuna need kuchangia akina nani ndio tu hivyo. So it concerns all of us.
Yeah, it does. We are carrying this emotional baggage right now. And even on the other hand, let's look at the effect of the disease itself.
Okay.
When the studies that have shown that when you're hospitalized and when you're on oxygen, there's some psychological, I would say, illnesses that are now coming up, including psychosis. Is it neurosis or psychosis? One of the two. In layman's language, neurosis is a temporary loss of reality. So you lose time, you cannot recall. It has an effect on your long-term and short-term memory, so you cannot recall. There are people who I personally know have had to do physiotherapy because they're atrophied is when you don't use a muscle and it becomes limp. Because if you're in ICU for 2 or 3 weeks and you don't have oxygen flowing throughout your body, your limbs and the muscles they develop atrophy, or they become atrophized, I think the word. Now I
can't even help. You know what I'm saying? It's not those words that you finish for someone.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
now this is a family who, for example, if it's the father, because in this particular case, it is the father. He was the sole breadwinner. He was in hospital for at least 2 weeks. And then now you have to bring in a physiotherapy, or he has to go to a physiotherapy practice. And then now the effect is the children seeing the father who is, for children, dad's a Superman, right? Learning how to walk again. This is the effect of COVID-19 on the children.
Yeah.
Because it's now introducing uncertainty, like, okay, I don't know how daddy, it's just uncertainty also for the kids.
And there's also constant fear.
And there's constant
fear that maybe you'll make it, maybe you'll not make it.
Yeah.
I don't want to get it. If I get it, I might die. We've seen people die. They've seen others survive, but you don't know.
You don't know. You don't know. And I just wish we would shout more about it.
Yeah.
So that people know that if I was a happy, jolly, happy-go-lucky person before COVID-19,
Yeah.
and now I have a constant feeling of sadness and maybe seeping into depression, that's okay.
Okay.
It's the effect of just I would even call it like a cosmic shift in your life. Who was prepared for this thing? No one.
No one.
So it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel depressed. It's okay to feel anxiety. It's okay to feel confused.
But we need to be aware of these emotions.
Yes.
Because you might just live your life not understanding what is happening to you.
Yeah.
You're just leaving. But if you're more aware, if you're more loud about this conversation, then you reach inside you to see what happened, at what point did that shift.
Right.
And when we recognize that that is the problem, then how do we handle it now?
Yeah.
Now that we've understood it's something that happened to me because COVID happened.
Yeah.
But then now what?
Now what? So if I normally say this, if you're able to go into therapy, that would be the best thing. But I normally insist, ensure you get a certified therapist. And I say this not to elevate ourselves for those who are certified, but because if you go to someone who is not qualified, they cause more damage. Because one of the basic fundamental principles of therapy is trust and something we call joining. You have to trust me. That is an acquired, it's actually a learned skill.
Okay.
But if you go to someone who's not qualified, they will pass on their ideas to you, and you end up feeling more burdened than before.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. It
Yeah.
does.
If you're able to go to therapy, fine. If you're not, there are certain things that you can do. Get a self-care routine. And I'm saying this even as I try and coin mine because it's no longer working. So I know the practicality of it. How does a self-care routine work, or why do I need a self-care routine? Because your nervous system works with structure. Your nervous system works with dependability. And dependability has to be, I'm going to sleep at 9, I'm going to wake up at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
I'm going to have either 3 meals a day. Because you see, that inconsistency kind of fuels more uncertainty. And that fuels more anxiety, which then would fuel more stress, which then would fuel more depression.
Okay.
So a self-care plan helps you, although it's very hard because we kind of we have the wrong perception. We have a warped perception on structure. We tend to think that structure is, it's an oppressive thing, but it's not. Actually, structure gives your mind and yourself freedom. Because
So when you talk about structure, I've just gone back to high school.
well, that's a story for another
But it
day.
was like, that's the easiest way to look at it. There was a structure.
Yes. Yeah.
And there was a routine. So you knew every day what happens where, at what time. So is that what you're suggesting
Yes.
we do now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because our brain and our mental, actually our brain and then our mind, and then brain, nervous system, mind, they form strongly on structure. Why? Because the neurons, once you do something repetitively in your brain, you form new neural paths, like the highway of the brain communicating sleep with hunger. So once you do it very repeatedly, these bonds form very, very strongly.
Okay.
So you realize that it becomes second nature. So that's what it does internally to your body. But what it does externally for you is a feeling of safety.
Yeah.
I know at 9 o'clock I'm going to sleep. I know at 6 a.m. I'm going to wake up. That is safety. And that's so, so important if you're coming from an area or an environment where uncertainty was quite thrive or was very high.
Okay.
And then in between the day, if you're able to, if your work requires to, get a few time off screen, because we've been called the generation of low concentration.
Yes.
Yeah. What that does is to kind of slow down your brain so that you're able to live in the moment. I heard Jeff talking about living in the moment.
Yes.
So you're able to live in the moment. When you live in the moment, it helps you experience joy in the moment. Like, oh, there's wind against my hair, or there's some beautiful chapatis smelling or that gives you, even just thinking about it, right? You kind of feel really
I don't know why I just drifted. I drifted.
Right.
I just went.
Yeah.
Amma, you're doing the thing.
No. Mikali, what thing am I doing?
You know, you talked about bonding, trusting me, I'm gone. But I really, I thought about it for a second. I even went ahead. I saw myself sitting kwa streets. Those of Viti za Kanjo. It doesn't have to be a tea. It's just being there and just looking at the traffic, just being
Even if
there.
it's for a minute,
Yeah.
it does something to your brain. It just slows down the fast processing. And then it gives you a feeling of relief. And what that does is to give you a feeling of hopefulness.
Yes.
And it gives you a feeling of joy, like, okay, even though life is hard, I can do this. And if you can as well, just ensure you're eating a good diet. If you can, it doesn't have to be expensive. Get brown ugali, skuma wiki with eggs. It doesn't have to be like these extravagant things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think those are some of the things
that we can do now.
Yeah.
I think I'd really reiterate on the getting a plan. I'm not saying there's anything about structure going on over here as well, but I've had it so many times, it must be true. Is the 21-day thing a thing?
Oh, now that has shifted.
Oh, it has. Where are we?
Whew. The last research I read, believe it or not, they were saying that because of the effect of COVID,
Yes.
before, and I don't know if you experienced it, but I have experienced it myself. Before COVID, you could easily break a cycle 21 days. Now, they're looking at 400
Sorry,
attempts.
What? Ati?
Yeah.
Why am I giving up on this structure before I even start? I'm like 400. That's
400 attempts. That's what they
attempts.
were saying.
Okay.
Because uncertainty kind of, it's like slipping this carpet off. And then, can you imagine, just visualize pulling this off. So you'd have things down and all that stuff.
Yes.
So they were saying, if you're able to, and I think that's why structure is so important, if you're able to, first get the structure right.
Okay.
And then look at now changing the behaviors that you want to change and acquiring the new behaviors that you want to acquire. Structure really is very fundamental.
Mbura, our time is up, imagine. Like it was up like 2 minutes ago, but then I've been ignoring my director. How can people get in touch with you with their questions? Where is your facility located? Today is the day.
So you can call me on 0707 274 894, or you can reach me on Instagram, Nyambura Gadombe -MFT.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say the number again.
0707 274 894.
Great.
Yeah.
We are going to take a very short commercial break as you think about that structure that you need to put together. Don't go too far, full circle. We'll be right back.